Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Cory Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today on the podcast, it is Ryan and myself, and we are going to talk to you guys about how we sell RestorFX to the wholesale dealership. What's going on, Ryan?
Let's go.
Ready for this? Thanks for taking the time because I know you're sitting in the middle of a hailstorm.
Yeah, it's kind of weird having just us two. I'm used to having somebody else talking.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be good.
We can be good at it. We're good at it.
Yeah.
We'll get some more people on, but we did interviews. We talked about RestorFX centers. We gave you guys 10, 15 examples of other people opening up RestorFX centers. Now we want to get into a little bit about just kind of teaching you guys how we're doing it. We've partially because we had some requests of that, like, what do you guys do with this? What do you do with that? We get a lot of questions, and so hopefully we can just answer some of those questions on here. That way we can help other people, and then if other people ask us questions in the future, we can say, go listen to this podcast episode for all your answers.
That's the whole goal for this whole podcast, right?
That's what podcasts are for, right?
Yeah.
In theory. So I guess to start it off, the friggin' wholesale market has been weird for several years, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're just talking about that. Like, it's actually been weird our entire careers. We just haven't noticed it because I feel like we're in it more than ever. We had one service just doing dents, and it's like, dents were a really small ticket. So whether the market was doing good or bad, we never really saw that dip. At least I haven't. I'm sure same thing for you, Cory.
Yeah, except for like 2009 and 10. I mean, the whole world was different then, though. That's
that and COVID, it was really
in the face.
Yeah, it was that, and COVID was really weird. But when you start moving up to these larger tickets like RestorFX, we really start to see the dips, the highs and the lows in the market, and it's how are we overcoming that?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So what's your biggest tip, just to start off, give some people some stuff right out the gate? What's the biggest tip for finding dealer work for RestorFX? Like, where are you looking? You're driving to an auto mall, or you're driving to name dealers. Like, what are you looking for if you're going to go sell somebody on this stuff?
Pretty funny. This is new for me because of I'll relate to this hailstorm a little bit. I think you really need to find, I'm going to call it damage, just because I walked into a dealership group that had over 1,000 vehicles, and we needed to see what the damage looked like across the entire, I don't know how many acres this thing is, but it might be 20 or 30 acres. So we wanted to see what the damage looked like on every aspect of it. I think that it should be the same way for RestorFX and the dealership. So I think at the beginning we were all kind of like, yeah, man, stay away from the B lots, mainly go with the name brand stuff. But I think in the beginning it'd be very helpful for guys to just go look at your market. It'll help you sell if you go to the B lots first and see what type of inventory they have and talk to those guys. Those guys, you might not get work from them, but it'll definitely get you feeling comfortable talking to somebody because they're the same type of people that are working in these major dealership groups. So I definitely recommend doing that, and then going to these bigger dealership groups with the confidence that you'll gain from that, and just seeing what types of cars these guys are selling. If they have cars that are super scratched up, if you're up there in the north and you have snow, I could promise you that 70% of the cars in that parking lot have been scraped with a broom to get the snow off, so they're scratched. So see what kind of cars they're selling, and even talk to some of the vendors if you see them on a lot, and see what they're doing as far as what's being fixed on the dealership, and you'll gotta get the grasp of if that dealership's willing to spend money on recondition or not. And then it's like, just do your homework, right? Just do as much homework as you possibly can to give yourself the most success. Because if you just walk into the dealership and think that RestorFX is a game changer, we know it is, but you're selling something completely new to a dealership, and we need to figure out how it's going to for that individual, the best. And it's always different, right? Every dealership's different. You might have some that just want to do panel jobs, which is pretty rare, but that might be the B lots. And then you'll have some that want to RestorFX the entire parking lot. You won't know that unless you do the homework.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, over my experience of selling RestorFX to dealerships, my best PDR lot, I would say, is a Ford dealership. We fix everything there all the time, and every time I walk their lot looking for potential RestorFX cars, there's really not much there that is worthy. I mean, yes, could RestorFX help some of the cars on the lot? Yes. Is it worth $500, $600, $700? Probably not, and I know that, but they just don't keep crappy stuff. Like, just period. They just don't. And so sometimes you walk a lot, you look at it, sometimes they're just picking and choosing. They have the right customers. They're only selling the nicer stuff. That's why we fix dents on literally everything. But that doesn't translate to painless dent repair. And then you go to the next lot over, and you can see they definitely sell a lot of nice cars, but they're willing to take in those trades and keep them that are worth $6, $7, $8, $9,000. Like the really rough trade in that they probably paid $1,500 for. Those are the lots that we're trying to go to, especially for the named franchise lots, especially those ones. I want to find the lots where they're willing to sell that old stuff, special finance, find the right customer type of situation, because those are the cars that RestorFX is literally the only fucking option. Like, there's nothing else. There's no detailer walking that lot that's excited to touch that car. There's no one else that's offering something that we can offer. And that's a really great position to sell from, is like, hey, that car that you've sold that no one will do anything on? Like, why would you fix the dents? Why would you do anything? Well, let's do this one thing, and I'll do RestorFX and the headlights, and it'll change the entire game. That's our biggest dealerships are the two that we have that we've found that are selling kind of those special finance cars, I guess I would say. When I would try to go fix dents on those back in the day, they'd be like, special finance. Like, they're gonna beg me for a car. They don't care what it looks like. But you do a couple of those for them with the RestorFX process and change the way they look, it is going to make it so much easier for them to sell a car. People love shiny shit, dude. Like, just plain and simple. They want it, even though they're broke. They got to finance for 7 years at 15% interest rate, $9,000 car. They still want to put it on Instagram, dude. They still do. And they want the car to look nice, and so when I'm just initially walking lots, like, I've never been to the place, I want to look, I'll walk the lot, and I'll look for those type of cars. A lot of times they'll have stickers on them. A lot of places out here are putting stars on those cars because they're like special, separate vehicles, So I'm always looking for that stuff. Every lot that I'm going to sell RestorFX for, 100% of the time, if I'm going to go in and talk to somebody, whether I've already been there or I'm just newly showing up, I'm walking the lot. For sure. And I'm taking a couple pictures of things, and I have that ammo going in before I even talk to somebody, 100% of the time. You agree on that, too?
100%. That's the homework we're talking about doing.
Yeah.
And franchise dealerships are the ones that have the money to spend. The B lot guys, these guys, like, they're financing these cars, and they have a lot riding on them. And that's like, they might have 2 or 3 salesmen that are their brothers and sisters. They're really banking on making as much as they can on those cars. So they want to sell the car like as is. So they're really hard, but again, they're really good to go into, because if you can sell the RestorFX to those guys, you can go to a franchise lot and sell RestorFX all day.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sharpening your sales skills 100%. And, there is something to be said about, you don't only get one shot, but definitely the first impression or that first sales call is very important. So you're going to walk into the Ford dealer or Honda or whatever for the first time, and you haven't sold it anywhere else. It's going to be a tougher conversation because you haven't repeated those same things. You haven't tried that at other lots. So going to the B lots, doing demos, even for less than the normal rate, just to try to get stuff, is going to hone your sales skills. So you can take that to the A lots, we would call them, to get that work. So 100%, I agree with that. We don't do, to be honest with you, we do actually do one wholesaler, really, only, and the rest that we do are all franchise dealers. But I don't do any PDR for B lots either. So I find it difficult to deal with those people. There are a couple that I know that I think would be good options, and they're big, they're big lots. They'll have 300 cars in inventory. They're selling a bunch of cars a month, so I could potentially go talk to those folks. I just haven't yet. But if I was going to go B lot, I'd go for the B lots that like are trying to be as big and
Yeah, for sure.
legitimate as possible. There's going to be a B lot that has 14 cars. They're like on the side of a fucking restaurant or something. Like, don't just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Don't.
I've done it. I've done it. They take the free
Yeah,
demo every time.
no way.
So I wouldn't even don't even do the free demo. Like, don't do that
Yeah.
for them. Just
No, you do discounted demos for those motherfuckers.
yeah,
Sure.
use them for sharpening your sales skills.
Yeah. So you're at a franchise dealer. You walk a lot. You find a car. Now what? Right. A lot of guys can do that. That's easy. We've been walking lots forever. If you're a PDR tech or somewhere else, that's easy. Now the scary part, right? People think sales is just a scary situation. So what do you? I can take this, but if you want to as well, like what do you do next? You found two cars that are really bad. RestorFX is going to change their life on this thing. Now what?
Well, for me, I tell them straight up. I like to get on a friendship level with these guys, even if I don't know them.
With who?
And
Like
the manager,
you're
right?
in the front of the lot and you found a car and you look at the dealership and there's 5 sales guys out front. There's fucking offices everywhere. Like, where do you go? What do you do? That's intimidating
Yes.
for a lot of people. It is.
And to make it a little more intimidating, this happened to me at a dealership, and it worked out great for us. But like you said, when you're in the parking lot, if a salesperson's not coming out to greet you, he's not doing his job. So
Yeah.
you are gonna. There's no doubt in my mind you will have somebody come talk to you at least and find out what you're doing there.
It's my favorite
And
part.
then I love that because I'm like, look, man, I got something for all y'all, right? I look at all them salesmen. I said, man, come with me, and I get them into the manager's office. Because whenever you have a bigger group of people, you're going to get the manager's attention. And then you have everybody, and you're only having to sell once instead of having to go to each one of these guys and sell.
Even if you can't get all the whole sales team, at least getting that sales guy to be on your side. Of course, he's going to be on your side. He just wants to sell cars. And I'm like, hey, you see this car over here? Like, we have a process to make it like super shiny, basically make it look like a show before. Would that make it easier for you to sell it? He's like, oh, yeah. We always sell fucking stuff, right? Like, he's gonna be like, oh, we always sell that kind of garbage, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah,
and they'll tell you. They will tell you all the problems. They will say, man,
problems.
I have people coming here all the time, won't buy black vehicles because of blah, blah, blah. And you can use that stuff as ammunition whenever you walk into the manager's office.
And it's like, hey, cool. Who would I need to talk to around? Like, well, who's the guy I need to talk to, And they're like, oh, they'll be like, oh, tell you, oh, it's this person. You got to go talk to Ryan. Okay, cool. Can you take me to his office? I've never once had somebody say no to that, which is wild to think. Like you're there, you're looking at a car, you found damage, and the guy just comes and gets you and takes you to the office almost every time. And that's introduction number 1. Very simple that way. But anyways, go ahead. You got one or more sales guys in an office saying like, hey, these guys say they can shine up cars. I just wanted you to talk to them, see if you can help us sell some stuff, Now what?
Yes. So at that point, we're going to talk about the damage on the vehicles. We're going to talk a little bit. I like to look around the desk. I like to look at their shoes. I like to look at their watches. I like to look at everything because before I start to sell, I want to see what type of person they are. And every single time that we go to sell something, I tell the dealership, I say, look, man, I'm not going to sell a salesman, and it makes them laugh. They start grinning. They love it because then they feel like they're higher up than you right now. And that's kind of where you want them to be at. And then you can go off and explain, what the RestorFX is and how it can benefit the dealership. Because it's so hard to get a manager's attention. If you're not in the dealerships, you don't understand this. But if you're a dent guy or another vendor, you understand these guys, they already think that they're like the best person in the world. So they think that you're a detailer, you make $10 an hour, and they give you zero respect. So if you can get on that friendship level at first and get them laughing, they're going to want to listen to everything you have to say. And then you have to get into the point of how are you going to make them more money? Because at the end of the day, that's all they care about. Most of them honestly don't give a shit what the car looks like, right? They want to know what's going to make them more money. And one of the biggest things I've used, because every dealership in the country does it, is they'll take trucks, like base model trucks, and they'll put like a leveling kit and some tires on it, or like a Jeep Wrangler, They'll take a base model and they'll put some tires on. I said, look, man, I noticed you had a Jeep Wrangler out there. You put those tires and lift on it, right? He's like, yeah, man, we do it to all of them. When I hear that, that's the opening door for me. And I'm like, well, look, how would you like to have something like that on all your vehicles, or the ones that would benefit from it only, and be able to pay a fraction of what you paid for that lift and tires and be able to sell all these cars for more money? And we just start saying things like that, then they want to listen. And then you have to make a decision as a business owner. Are you going to do free demos for those franchise lots in the beginning, or are you going to give them a discounted price? I think that most centers, if you could agree, Cory, are either not giving a discount or they're giving some small discount. I went backwards and did like, I'm going to do a bunch of free ones to learn how to do this stuff, but I don't recommend learning on dealership vehicles. Do it to your friends and family. Because, you know, you get one shot, dude. And we did really good and really bad at some of this, where you get one shot to impress these people, because that's the only thing they're ever going to remember is that car. So,
they may never look at another car you do for a long time.
No, they never do. I have one dealership manager that looks at everything we do. All the other ones just trust us because of the first demo that we did. They were blown away by it. You know, they're all lazy, right? I mean, every person in that dealership's lazy. So they have to know that they can trust you and that you're going to make them more money. It's up to them to make themselves more money, because you have to coach them on, hey man, after we get this car back from our treatment, you might want to take more photos, put it back on the internet, maybe throw the price up another $2,500 and see how that works for you. And then keeping up with them on that. You might do one car from a dealership and it might be a couple weeks or a month before you get another one, but you want to keep up with them on that initial vehicle and find out when that car sold, because they can look the stock number up. If you have the stock number and the VIN number, they can look it up and say, yeah, man, it looks like you did the RestorFX on Monday, sold Wednesday, and that's, you have more ammunition. You're like, well, look, let's maybe do a couple cars on a lot and see how these work, instead of trying to go in there and like get all the work at one time. You know, they don't like that. I don't think that a lot of them appreciate that, because they want to know that you're there for them and not for yourself.
Yeah. I tell people, you know, that what we're doing for these cars it's not for every car. I don't even recommend it for every car, because a lot of the cars out there are late model vehicles that don't really need it. But what we're trying to find, that 10%, the 5-10% of cars that you need, that are just look old and tired, that sit on your lot for 90 days and then you wholesale them and you lose money, all that stuff. We're trying to prevent that. Like, I want you to be able to move cars. I want you to take that trade in where you thought it was worthwhile, even though it kind of looked like crap, and actually be able to sell the thing. Because at the end of the day, you know, having a shiny vehicle to sell is probably one of the biggest key factors in selling it. Is when someone looks at it and be like, that looks nice. You know, the first impression. I just pulled up to this hotel I'm at, you know, staying in this place, and I'm like, the first impression, not the greatest. You know, it's like, it's the first impression. I don't know what it was. It was just, I think it's the doors on the outside of the building. I think that'll do it, because it looks like a motel. But first impression. So I think people walking up to a car, you know, they know they're special finance customers. They know they can't afford $20,000 car. They know it's going to be 12 grand, and they've been to a bunch of other places and all cars look like shit, dude. And they're like, I don't want, like, I know I'm broke, but I don't want a piece of junk. And then they pull up to this one and it looks nice. I mean, it's not a new car, but like, looks pretty good. You know, it's vacuumed on the inside and it's shiny on the outside. I mean, what else can you ask for? You know? And so I'll try to like tell a story or put them in that situation, because a lot of times they've had those conversations with customers and it just doesn't look nice, and now they're overcoming all these objections, you know. So and when someone walks into the dealership, like you said, you're paying attention to what they're wearing, you're assessing the situation, you're trying to find common ground, you're looking for anything that you can use to find a connection with that person. I assume, like you said, watch, shoes, pictures, family, sport, something like that, and you'll make a joke about that or talk about that or whatever. Sales, when you're walking into a dealership thinking that you're trying to convince them to use your product to make a car shiny, very difficult to come from that mindset. The mindset that you should use going into that is that you have a solution for them. You know it's a great solution, and your solution can make them more money. and they just gotta kind of like you. That's really
That's it.
that's
They
the
gotta like you.
sales, man. They gotta like you, and you gotta have a solution for them. You got to do good work too, obviously. But they're not even going to give you the work unless they like it. So find a connection with them, talk to them, talk about the dealership, how the car sales are going, what's their problems, how you can potentially help them, all that type of stuff. And so, um, those are the biggest things that I'm focusing on, is just having those conversations. And you said, you know, they do want to feel like that they're above you in that sales situation. Like, I'm not trying to sell a salesman. Like, I totally get it in one aspect, but I think you having knowledge of the car market and how reconditioning helps them and all that stuff, and being on the same level or even maybe a little bit above them on how reconditioning helps sell cars, is a good thing. Looking
Well,
like an expert in the situation, you know.
that's where you want to get at. Like what I was trying to get at was they automatically think they're higher than you. You have to have all the information to be able to get yourself to the same level as them. And then once you get there, then they give you the respect, and then they want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So we have a lot of objections that we run into, even if we're, doing the lot already. We've already done a bunch of cars for them. We go there weekly and get, something, maybe one or more than that. Sometimes there's objections on cars, and I'm curious to see what you do to overcome that. I'll start with one actually that we get in the very beginning. A lot of times that they'll say, like, we already, we have detailers in the back, or like we already have like a detail department that does that stuff. So we get that a lot of times, and I'm just curious if you have some sort of response for that.
Well, I'm a little arrogant sometimes, I guess, or sarcastic. The Cordons tell me that all the time. So that's when I have to really be in a good relationship or like good terms with that manager, because I like to call them
No,
on
this is
bullshit.
brand new, dude. You just walked in there.
Well, that's
They're
the
like,
problem.
I don't need your fucking service.
Yeah.
Like, I already got detailers in the back. Thank you very much for coming in.
That's whenever I try not to sell. I say, look, man, I'm not going to sell you. I'm not going to sit here and sell you on it. Let me show you what it is, right? Because this stuff is, we've said it over and over again throughout every podcast we've had. This stuff is a see it to believe it. I mean, everybody walks in a dealership and says, hey, man, I do the best work. I do paint correction. Then it never ends out. But like, this stuff is the craziest transformation you'll ever see on a vehicle out of anything a vendor can do in reconditioning. It really is. We've said it a million times. So at that point, I'm just like, look, man, I know this sounds crazy. I know it sounds like a lot, but let me show you what we can do. And then that's all I'm asking for, is for them to give me that opportunity to prove them wrong at that point.
Yeah. And I'll add to that too. Like, this is such a unique service that I'm trying to reposition it as like it's nothing else, which is the truth. And so I'll tell them, like I know you have detailers and I know you have painters, right? Stuff's super bad. You got to send it to paint. The basic stuff the detailers are doing, all the stuff in between that the detailers aren't fixing out there, all the scratches are not buffing out, the oxidized panels they can't solve, all that type of stuff. That's the void that I'm trying to fill for you. Let me show you how I can do that. I found these couple cars. If you just give me 5 seconds of your time, I'll go walk out there and show you one of them. And so I'm trying to show them that we are not the same as the people that they have. There's never been anybody that's walked into this dealership that is offering you what I offer you, because I hold the exclusive license for this product. That's intriguing to them. People,
good, yeah.
If you can get in easier than that, great. If you can't get in easier than that, you might have to play on a different human nature. And people, where you're saying you have a new product, it's a licensed product, it's the first of its kind, you're the only one in the market that sells it. People don't want to miss out on stuff. People will push you off if you're like everybody else, but if you're unique in some way, the curiosity of being in this world of salesmen and understanding that things are always changing and stuff, like that curiosity will most likely get them to give you a minute of their time. That's how I feel. So if I hear the detailers are like, that's great, keep using them. I'm not going to replace them. I'm not even trying to replace them. I don't even want to replace them. I don't want to vacuum a car. I don't want to do any of that. I can tell you right now, all they're doing is buffing and polishing, and that's fine. That solves some of the cars, but I'm after those 10% of cars that it does not work on, right? And I'm trying to fill that void between what they're doing and what the paint shop is doing. That's all those are the cars I'm trying to fix for you. So,
I
if
don't know
that
if this is
hopefully helps.
I don't know if this is something you should or shouldn't do, but I've done it, and it might be the wrong way or the right way, because it could probably rub somebody the wrong way as far as a manager goes. But in my initial meetings, whenever they gave me a car or they were willing to do business with me, I would tell them, look, man, I'm going to be dropping one off in the morning, or we're going to be dropping one off later at the dealership next door, and we'll come grab yours. And then all it's doing is telling them that their competition, direct competition, is on this stuff, right? So at that point, they're like, well, fuck, now I have to keep up with the competition and utilize it and at least look at this product and see what it is. It worked out for us pretty good. So.
Yeah, I've done that several times. I think it's great. I mean, they're in auto malls. They know that there's vendors running around everywhere. There's a dent guy at every lot, a touch-up guy, an interior guy, whatever. They're all kind of doing the same stuff. But with a new product like this, I think that there is a little bit of FOMO on that. They don't want to be the ones that are, not having their shitty cars shined up too, if the people over there are, because they can just walk right over there and get it done, So there is definitely an aspect of that we use as well. And to be honest, I mean, you can use it as a negative way or a positive way. A lot of these guys have a massive amount of respect for each other. So saying that could just be like, oh, Jim over there is doing it too. That's awesome. Like, I didn't even know that. I'll have to ask him. Yeah. Don't lie about it, because they'll call them up. They know each other. They all play golf and go to lunch and they all know each other. So you can call them up, be like, yeah, you use this RestorFX. Like, yeah, that guy's great.
All right. I had a manager do it right in front of me at a new dealership. I've been doing business with this dealership for years, but I was like, man, I'm gonna go back to this dude, because I was over there for a dent. And he had all these nice cars that were scratched up, and I was reselling him on the whole RestorFX product. And I said, man, he asked me specifically, he's like, man, what stores are you doing? And I said, man, I'm doing Lamero is one of the managers. I said, I'm doing his lot down the street. He worked for a different dealership group. He picked up his phone, called the manager up, and said, hey, man, you Ryan at RestorFX? And he was, yeah, man, he just said it was phenomenal work. This guy has given us like a car. We have a car of his at least every day. And so that I mean, they will call your bluff, like you said. They all know each other for sure.
Yeah, they all know each other.
But
yeah, pretty much.
On a side note, we did do a podcast. I don't know what episode this was, but Ryan K, who used to be, he started off from the ground in the used car dealership and worked his way up into all the way to GM, I think. Being able to speak the same language as managers goes a long way. Like words like allocation, if you know what that means, they will look at you way differently than the guy who's doing rims on their parking lot, because I can promise you the guy who's refinishing wheels has no idea what allocation means. So exactly. you could go back and read that or listen to that podcast, because that was a really good one that kind of gave some insight on what the managers think and look at reconditioning as a whole. So
it's retail sales with Ryan K. No, that wasn't that one. That was a separate one that he did.
How about retail?
Right now. What dealer managers want to know about RestorFX?
There you go.
I think that was with Ryan. There's a lot of episodes, guys. You gotta go back and listen. We got a shit ton of episodes on there. Damn. We've been going for a while. And also asking manager directly for a referral. I've done that too. I have a really good lot that we use. And I asked them, hey, I really appreciate you letting us do your lot. We're taking care of you every week. Do you have anybody else in the area or anybody else out here that you think would benefit from the service that you want to send me over to? If you ask that, like, they're not just going to be like, no, I don't know anybody. If they like your service and you're getting every week, you're walking in, you do 2, 3, 4 cars from them, like they know people. They're like, oh yeah, go tell this guy I told you to come over there. Makes it way easier than walking in there cold. Way easier.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's one thing you can make a decision on this, because I've been going back and forth and I talk about it all the time. But if you have big dealership groups that have like over 8 to 12 or 13 stores, if you create a really good relationship and get with those guys in the beginning, you can sell. And this is going back to us owning a license in a territory that you can't. You'll never have competition. You could use that as a selling point to strictly do business with that one dealership group, but they have to they have to guarantee you so many cars per week, per day, whatever you want to do with it. That's a really good avenue to go on. I think we have some guys that are doing it. I've tried it, and I'm still in the process with some dealership groups because I have 2 big ones that we're trying to figure out which one we're going to go with on that. But man, they would love more than anything to be able to offer something that nobody else can offer and not own the business. You know, they have no liability at the end of the day. We hold all the liability on the customer service after the sale and the actual product. So that's definitely a good thing to think about whenever you're opening up a store.
Yeah, I like that. It's good
Yeah.
stuff. What do you say when the dealer manager says there's no money in the car?
Yeah, that's all a lie. Ryan K said the same thing, man. It's literally like, it's a big lie because yeah, it might be on the front end of the deal that they're losing money, but let me tell you something. These dealers are not losing money. They are not.
I mean, look around.
Yeah, they can tell you that they're $3,000 underneath that car. Well, I promise you, whoever buys that car, they're going to ram it up their ass in the back end. So
Yeah,
they have money to spend on it. It's just at that point, you can use that as even more of a sale because you're like, look, man, so if you're telling me you're $2,000 behind on this car, we need to try to do whatever we can to make this car sell for the most amount of money that it can sell for. And this is your solution right here, right?
This is the best bang for the buck. Like
Right.
the PDR is not going to get you that. The touch-up's not going to get you that. The wheel repair is not going to get you that. None of that's just going to get you that.
Dude,
this is going to give you that.
When they do it and it happens to them one time where they make
like,
money
shit.
and it pulls them out of a hole, they have that oh shit moment where they're like, all right, I know what this stuff can do now. And then they start working for you, dude. The salespeople start working for you. It's free labor. It's great.
Yeah, when you get to that point, that's not easy to get to. That doesn't happen the first couple of weeks, but when you can get to there, it's definitely a good feeling for sure. When the GM of the place we had the other day, the used car manager was getting sloppy on approving cars. He was like, "No, this one, not that one." The GM walks the lot every once in a while and called us up and said, "Why didn't you guys do this car?" And we're like, "They told us not to." And he's like, "Fix it." That's good. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One's got your back. And so, and I would also say that if they wholesale that car, they're probably going to lose money too. They're for sure going to lose money. If it's been there for 90 days and they're like, I'm sick of it, I got to turn the inventory, I'm going to wholesale it, I'm going to lose money. Why not try $500? Dude, if you're talking about a franchise dealership, $500 is nothing. I know it feels like a lot of money for like some of our small businesses that are doing 20 grand a month or whatever. Like these guys are doing many multiples of millions of dollars, sometimes every month. $500 isn't anything for them. So if you can make them feel like there's a possibility if they spend $500, they can move that car without having to wholesale it, you've done your job. It's not going to work on every car, but $500 is not a lot of money to them. In that car, they're upside down. They bought it for this, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. You can't just you have to consider that an objection that you have to overcome. It's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean that the discussion is over.
Right.
I get a lot too because there's some lots where we don't walk every week because they're not consistent on giving us cars. They're kind of a smaller lot or whatever. And we'll go there and they're like, oh, that car's aged. I'm like, how old are we talking? Like, oh, it's 42 days. And I'm like, why do you think it's been out there for 42 days? You know what I mean? Like, you can have the conversation. Like, they want to have this they want to sell the car. They want their life to be easier, but they also don't want to deal with you at the same time. So if you can lead them down the pathway of understanding that maybe if they fix this car, maybe that's the reason it is sitting out there, and you do that a couple times, and there is a lot of times that we're doing RestorFX cars and it'll sell within a week. A lot of times, it just makes that much of a difference. So have the balls or the cojones, whatever you want to call it, to have that conversation. Don't say, "Oh, I'd like to do this car for you," and say, "Oh, it's an aged vehicle," and you're like, "Okay, sir, I'll come back next week." Like you're not doing your job.
We also do training.
So many cars.
We do training for their sales staff too, where we go into the dealership.
I've never done that, but I should.
So dealerships ask us, they call us in now to ask us to do that, and it's super simple because we're trying to give them all the ammunition they need to be able to sell these cars, and we put the R logo on the back of the window, and we tell, it's a super simple sales meeting. We're just like, look, we kind of walk them through what RestorFX is, stuff we reiterate, and we've told them before, they've seen the product, they love it. But we say, look, if you ever walk in with a customer and you see an R on the back of this car, just know that it's got something that all the other cars don't.
Yeah.
So even if it is dirty, I mean, yes, we do restore these cars and they might sit there for a couple of days and they get rained on, all the stuff, right? But they can bring it into the detail department, have them detail it, and the customer looks at it and it's the same wow effect. It looks phenomenal. So we do the sales stuff for them all the time and they like it.
I love that. I need to do that.
Here's one that happens all the time. You've been, say you're a couple months in, you got a good relationship with the manager, you're pumping cars out. You roll up one day and he's gone.
Yeah, almost gone. Yeah.
What do you do?
Oh man, that's a bummer. It is. Yeah. It's unfortunate. The first thing, like if I get to talk to, first thing, find out who the new guy is, right? And then if you get to talk to him, if you came the day he started, maybe a little bit tough. I'm still gonna try though. Ask for 5 minutes of his time. I would just be very clear that like, hey, we've been doing work for you guys, usually doing this many cars a week from the previous guy here. I'd love to show you what we're doing. Here's the 2 or 3 cars that he would have probably had us do. If you want to go take a look at them, just so I can continue helping you sell cars. Again, that guy's new. He started a new job. Have you guys ever started a new job? When you start a new job, you're fucking nervous too, right? He's not going to say that. He's going to be like, I own this place. Like, this is mine. He's nervous, okay? He doesn't want to screw up. He doesn't necessarily want to make things different, So if I can name drop, like, oh yeah, we've done a car for the GM over here. We've done a car for the salesman over here. They love this product, blah, blah. Like we do this many cars a week, and make it feel easier for him to keep you there than it is for him to, because then he's got to fire you. You set that up, now he has to fire you, and he's the first day of the job. He's not firing anybody. First, he just started, So I'm definitely like, when I go there, I'm definitely kind of playing that angle. I'm not like walking in like acting like I'm new, like, hey, I'd love to do a demo for you, like blah blah. Like I'm acting like I am supposed to be there. I've been there longer than he's been there doing this potentially, unless he was like hired from like the lateral hire or whatever. I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to do this. This is what I would usually do. Would you like me to do that today, or do you want me to start tomorrow?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's kind of how I'm playing that angle. Yeah.
Yeah, and also having the salespeople on your team all the time, like those guys.
Anybody you can pick out of the leadership on your team.
Yeah, those guys don't move around so much. Like the sales team doesn't really move around. So like making sure that you're talking.
Depends on the dealer.
Like, I know, but don't write those guys off when you go to the dealership. No. If you see them, talk to them, shake their hand every time you go, whether you're picking a car up or dropping a car off, because they will be on your team. And I've had it so many times happen that they come into the manager's office and they're in the background, like, we got to give him cars because that's how we sell the shit out of him. Like,
if you think about, like, most sales guys are paid, well, I don't know about most. A lot of the guys that I know are paid on the percentage. There's a percentage of profit in a deal that they're paid.
Yeah, the net profit they get paid on.
Net profit. So if they spend $500 or $600 on a vehicle to fix it, the amount of money they're losing on the deal is small.
Yeah.
Because they're a percentage of the profit, right? So if it's $500 and they're making, I don't know, what's the typical sales percentage? 20% of profit? I don't know.
It is like in between 20 and 30% of net profit.
Okay, so let's say there's $1,000 in the car. You spend $500 on it. Now the profit went. They were going to make 200, but now they're only going to make 100 on that car. But now it's significantly easier for them to sell it. So,
but you're looking at it as a negative at that point because they should be selling the car. I know it doesn't happen all the time, but they should be selling more money, right? So
I get, they're right. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they get 20% of profit. So if you're putting a high dollar ticket on a car, it's in their mind, it doesn't cost, it's worth it to them because they're only going to lose potentially $100 or zero because now it's easier to sell. Right. So they will be your salesman because they're like, I like selling shiny, clean cars.
Yeah.
And like I've talked to a lot of salesmen. I've seen salesmen move around. I've been doing PDR a lot for 5 years. A new manager comes over, takes over. They don't want to do PDR anymore. Now the sales guys at the next lot because I'm sick of selling cars at that place because I can't do it. Cars look like shit. They're not reconning anything, all that type of stuff. Sales guys like to sell nice cars. Like it's easier for them. And they make more money that way. And they feel less dirty about it.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
every time I'm bringing a car back, if there's a sales guy out there, like I'm gonna show it to them too. Like, oh, did you see what I did with that car over there? Like this one's going on Friday, right? Like this is the Saturday car for you right here. You know? So yeah, I'm always doing that 100%. Okay, so practical business stuff, like that's selling dealerships. There's probably more. Maybe we'll do a part 2 on it, get even more granular about talking to the GM, sitting down with salespeople, talking about how, how to do bigger deals, things like that. When I started RestorFX, I did not have a runner vehicle in the beginning. I would have 2 people take cars, and it's a dumb idea.
Yep.
Dumb idea. Just understand if you're starting a center or if you don't have one yet, I think it's definitely worthwhile to invest in an inexpensive runner vehicle. To have one person take the vehicle to the dealership and pick up the car and then swap it the next day. I know a lot of RestorFX centers are doing it, but not all of them. So
No,
if you have an officer or another technician, like don't send 2 people. Labor is way too expensive. I'd rather have them sit and clean the shop or go walk some other lot or do something than tail a guy out to a dealership and swap it out for a runner car, for a $4,000, cheap runner car. You feel the same way? Do you have one or multiple or what? How do you do your?
Dude, I'm the dumbass, but I finally just got one.
Yeah. So yeah.
I bought it 2 weeks before the hailstorm hit, and then I had to take it from the guys at Restore and give it to the hail guys. So like now we're back to square one. So I'm like, well, now I got to buy at least 2 or 3 of these things because I saw, dude, in 2 weeks I saw what it did. Like the Restore guys, my lead technician and my other installer, he was like, dude, that was the best thing you've done for this company, and all I did was spend $3,200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3,200. Pretty easy.
Yeah. So dude, if you're going to open up a center, I'd probably have that before I hired somebody.
It's part of the startup cost. Yeah. If you're going to hire one dude, like I have, like get him a runner car. Like that's it. It's just, then he's the one dude that does RestorFX. I still have one guy. I will help him at times myself, but he will do 1 to 2 cars a day. But I'm not following him. My office manager's not following him. They have other jobs to do. Get a runner car. I would say, yeah, one tech, one runner car. You can do 1 to 2 cars a day. That's a whole business right there.
Right.
Even if you're by yourself and you're the one doing RestorFX, get yourself a runner car. Yep. Not the vehicle you drive to work every day, but you drive your car to work and then you take that car and take it to the dealership, pick it up. I don't think it's talked about enough. It doesn't get talked about when signing up for a center, but the startup costs can be kind of expensive. When you and I talked, Ryan, you're like, outfit the shop, do the lights, do the clean environment, do all the things you need to do, get the storage, all that stuff, and a rental car. That needs to be in there. Like that's part of the startup cost is like you just an old car that you can have to move around. Like that's necessary, in my opinion.
Then you can practice all you want on it. You can use it as training. You can do whatever you want with
it. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
As long as it runs.
Yeah.
Do any dealerships drop cars off at your shop? I talked about this. I brought it up before. I really want to try to figure this one out. I
have one. Now that you say that, we have a high-end dealership. I say high-end. It's Hyundai Genesis. For some reason, their detail department, they can't figure out how to take the plastic off of these cars from transit without fucking them up, right? What? So I think that we probably get 80 to 90% of their brand new vehicles that are coming off the lot or off the truck, and they hand deliver every single one of them and pick them up, which has been it's been great.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. Yeah, I was talking to a dealership that was supposed to do that. They were far away from me, and I had a manager move from a dealership that I was doing RestorFX, and he liked it and moved to a further away dealership. And I was like, I'm not coming there. Sorry. Like, I want to help you, but like, I can't do it unless you give me a car, unless I can go out there one time and then I can keep a car until you have another car. So either I keep it, if you want to give me a car every day, I'll go out there every day. If you want to give me one car every 4 days, then I'm keeping your car for 4 days.
Right.
Or you can bring them to me. And this is just a recent conversation. And so I'm just trying to stand my ground a little bit more on that. Again, like if they like it, we have something that can't get anywhere else. So I took the risk, and I'm like, I don't want to send my runner car out there or a guy out there for a 40 minutes each way trip. But if they like it enough and they want to use my service, then I'm happy to do that. So I'm gonna try to figure that out. I'll report back and see if I can, if I have any news on that. But I would love, we're probably even maybe still on the lower end of the wholesale. It seems like when I talk to people, I thought I priced it well, but sometimes I feel lower. But we're $500 to $600 on cars. That's with pickup. So I don't have too much room to discount really. We do some for $450 sometimes if they need it. So if people brought me cars, can I do it for $400 if they brought them to me? Maybe, honestly. If I could probably get 3 cars a day if I don't have to do any pickup drop off.
I mean, if you've ever dropped a car off or picked one up, dude, it's like the biggest waste of time, dude. Like I think that you can fit another car in that day without doing that. If you didn't have to do
walking a lot, finding the keys, this person goes this, blah blah blah. Yeah, all that stuff. Like here's a $50 discount. Can your porter that's like sitting on his phone in the break room bring me the car?
That's another big thing we run into a lot, and I know Mikey up in Long Island, he's like, if they don't have the key ready within like 5-10 minutes of me being there, he's out. Like he just leaves.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but we have guys that are, I mean, in Lafayette can't seem to find a key ever in their life. It's like these salesmen are hoarding the keys away.
It's weird, dude. Looking for keys is literally
there's things that you can do that I've done, whether it was fixing a dent on a salesperson's car or just being there for anything they needed. I've always told them, I said, hey man, I'm gonna scratch, I'll scratch your back. You have to scratch mine. I have one person at every dealership that we try to text stock numbers to the morning that we're going to be there to pick them up, and she'll have them on the manager's desk waiting. That works out great.
That's killer. That's a good tip, dude. That's a good tip. Just anything to make it more efficient, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even if even if you have to restore their car as a business owner, the amount of money that you're paying to have that thing restored, it's like a one and done thing. It's like the amount of time that they're going to save you by making sure you get that they get those keys for you. It's priceless. It really is.
For sure. What else you got? Any surface level stuff without digging too deep? I do want to talk more about sales training with staff, closing bigger deals with dealerships. That's going to happen more and more. But anything that's
let's talk about competition. Let's talk about competition. I know that we have licenses, we have the best product, on the market. We have the best companies surrounding us. It seems like we call it liquid paint corrections becoming more popular, and they do have people out there that are on the parking lots doing this stuff, which is mind blowing to me. How do you overcome that? Because they're charging a fraction of what you're charging. They're definitely in there, talking to the managers, telling them that, this is the same product. They can do the same thing. The car don't have to leave the lot, all these things, but we have to be on the up and up in the beginning to let these dealership managers know what can happen to these vehicles. And I had to keep proof, like videos, pictures of prior cars that we had gotten back into our shop because a customer bought a car from a dealership and had this stuff, like she didn't even know it was on there. It just got ruined, and we had to fix that. So we had to coach the dealership managers that way. Whenever they come in to even try to sell that stuff, they just kind of wiped them, pushed them down the street because they were happy with what they were getting in the first place. You got it, Corey? Cut out a little bit.
I'm back. My AirPods.
No, he's having.
No, my AirPods were messing with me. But I missed a little bit of that. But yeah, competition. Like you said, you kept some proof, basically, to show them what they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's like being up, being ahead of the game and letting the dealerships know, like, yes, you know, I think 2 years ago, I was confidently to be able to tell the dealerships like, hey, you won't find this stuff anywhere. Nobody's doing anything like it. Now they're doing
Different
stuff
now.
like it, but it's like a bad dent guy. They're just making the dent look different. All they're doing is making the car look different, except that it's this is like a permanent solution, and they're like almost permanently messing the car up.
Yeah,
So
permanently
it makes it
covering
harder
up
for us
stuff
to
that cannot be undone without actually repairing it. That's why they're doing it
or
apart.
or it costs them more money. I'm like, look, man, if we
Yeah,
wound up getting a car in with this stuff on it, it's going to take me 2 days to get this stuff off and fix it. So it's going to cost you, X amount of
yeah,
dollars to have that stuff fixed. But if they're happy with your process and everything you're doing, they're totally fine spending that money. But you will have dealership managers that are cheap, and they will give somebody a chance, just like they gave you a chance. You just have to
yeah.
be very knowledgeable on what's going on in the industry. And this is, sad truth, but this is what's happening.
Yeah, someone's always going to find a cheaper product. I mean, that's true with paintless dent repair or literally anything. RestorFX, liquid paint correction. Someone's going to find a cheaper product. But like I've come across that. There's a big company who does that at some of our lots that we also do it. I just straight up asked the dealership, like, here's my process. I take the car to my shop. I do this. I mechanically prep it with sandpaper. Mechanically prep it with sandpaper, chemically prep it with this, and I apply the coating. I let it cure overnight in a clean environment, blah, blah, blah. And those guys just wipe a coating on. Like, what do you think? Like, which one do you think? When you look at the value add on that, they're spending 30 minutes and they're charging you $200 for, in my opinion, a significantly inferior product. I'm charging you $500 to $600, but I'm taking it to my shop and I'm permanently fixing a car. You're not selling a car to somebody that's going to come back with problems later. I'm gonna do this on a brand new Porsche too. Like, I can. Those guys aren't doing that. Are they doing retail work with that? No, I am, because that product is just a dealership cover-up product, and this place doesn't sell dealership cover-up stuff. Like, I can tell, you sell nice stuff. And so like they're charging $150, $200 for 30 minutes of work. I'm charging you this like $500, $600 more expensive, yes, but I'm actually doing the work. So I'm gonna make it look like that the value of that is very poor.
Yeah.
If it's that quick of a fix and it's that easy, it should be probably $40. But if it was $40 for a car, you'd think it was bullshit.
Right.
Because it is.
Yeah. That's perfect, man. I like the way you sell that.
So, and I did one the other day too that I sent it in the group chat, RestorFX group chat. Well, actually, I don't think you're not in my group chat. You're in a separate one. There must have been something on it. I couldn't tell what it was, but there was some sort of product. I've also talked to the dealership I know does this. I've talked to the lot guy, super cool dude, been there for 20 years, runs the lot, doesn't want to become the used car manager. He's like, I'm happy where I am. I leave at 2:30 every day, like whatever. He basically straight up said, there's stuff's bullshit. I can wipe it off the acetone. And I was like, yeah, I know. So try that. See if you can wipe it off that stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna happen more and more for sure. And you gotta position yourself as the professional company, especially with these named dealership, these franchise dealerships. They want to work with legitimate businesses. They don't want to work with the sideshow stuff. They just don't. Like, they've probably been in the rock lots. They've seen that. There's gonna be the options that you've seen the friggin' YouTube ad or Facebook where you fill in the whole crack of the windshield with some liquid or something. Like, that stuff doesn't exist. Yeah. There's no magic potion for cars, dude. It just doesn't happen, So I'd ask him, like, would you let me do your car with RestorFX, or would you let them do their car with their special magic liquid? Which one?
Yeah.
So anyways, stuff like that. But anyways, we'll call it there. Maybe we'll do a part 2 on it. I want to hear more about selling to like full teams of salesmen and kind of putting yourself on their level and teaching them, what it looks like and how to sell it or how to look for it or something like that. But anyways, for now, hopefully that helps somebody. Just go make some more money. Go do the sales calls. As a business owner, your job is always to do the sales, unless you're hiring a salesman, which I know 0 people that have salesmen out of their shop, 0. I don't think many companies are big enough to have a salesman that's making 60, 70, 80 grand a year. That's either the manager of the shop or that's you. So if you are scared of sales, you should probably go work for somebody else.
Yeah. Now, so before we roll, this was I have a really good friend of mine who owns an AC company, and he's got the opportunity to grow. Like, he's starting mom and pop small, and he has the opportunity to grow into like this nationwide franchise that somebody hooked him up with. But he made the decision to say, I am not mentally ready for that, mentally and physically, because they both go hand in hand.
Sure.
So I think that we need to talk about it here and there on what, not that we all try to read books, and we can give you advice on some books to read, but some mental training. I think I want to say the one he's doing right now is called 75 Hard Challenge.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I know a lot about that.
So he's been in it for like, I don't know how many, 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been knowing this guy most of my life, and I could see the difference just in what he's doing now. And he's like, I just wanted to do that. And I think if you're going to open up a business or grow in any aspect, we all don't think about this as being something, just like we're talking about the vehicle, like buying a runner vehicle. Like, you have to be mentally ready for this to do it, because it's not all, easy. Even if you have the money and you have tons of money, or you have backers and stuff like that, that doesn't make it any easier. That this is a very big mental game. So I recommend looking into doing something like that.
Yeah, you can go back in our podcast feed, and I've spent probably 50 episodes talking about different things you can do to sharpen your mental focus. It's not, and I don't come from it from the perspective that like I'm the best fucking business guy in the world. Like, a lot of the stuff I've learned from other people. No one's the best business guy in the world except for one dude. And there's a lot of people just trying to help. So whenever I hear stuff, I bring it to you guys. You guys are our niche that we talk to. You guys listen to us. If you don't listen to other people, but you should listen to other people. You should listen to Ed Milet, who does 75 Hard. Not Ed Milet. Andy Frisola, Ed Milet's partner.
Yeah.
You should listen to Ed Milet too. You should listen to Andy Frisola, who does 75 Hard. You should listen to a bunch of other people that own businesses that are 500 times larger than Ryan and mine. The downside of that is that they're playing at such a far level away from us that it's really difficult for us to relate to that and get to and figure out what they're doing as relatable, because they're so far ahead. And so that's why we do a podcast. That's why I started a podcast many, many years ago in 2020 to give you guys that information, because it's much easier for you to, and it's much easier for you to relate to what I'm doing, and I can give you specific tips to help your particular business, or someone that's running a 20, 50, $100 million company is giving general business advice, which is good for sure. But it's not specific enough. It's not distilled down to stuff that you guys can do. He's not going to teach you how to sell RestorFX to specific dealerships, ever. So listen to all the things. But yeah, I agree. 75 Hard is a challenge. A lot of deck guys have done it, I know. But it is not a physical workout challenge. It is a mental toughness campaign for sure. 100%.
So do it.
Yeah, check it out. Look it up. Look up Andy Frisola if you haven't, because he's the creator of that. If most people, well, I think a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, check his podcast out. Just be prepared for real talk. That's what it's called, I think. Real talk.
That's funny.
That guy, do you ever listen to his podcast?
I've listened to bits of it from TikTok. I'm a TikToker, so I'll listen to a little bit on
sure.
TikTok.
There you go. Yeah. All right, guys, go implement what we did. If you implemented a couple things out of this, you'll make more money for sure.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Masters of Recon podcast. If you're getting value from this podcast, then please subscribe to the show and give us a review so others can find our show as well. And if you haven't joined the discussion yet, then go find us over at Masters of Recon Facebook group to join the weekly discussion. See you all next time.